Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, John, because as you know, before I used the shade room as my litmus test, and this definitely made the shade room. But I'm not sure would have made the shade room if they kicked out all three, right? Like you said, right? I don't know if this is as big of a story to everybody else. I think it's a big. We knew this was coming. There was going to be a vote, and we knew that, and we thought it was despicable. But I'm not sure it blew up to what it was if it was all three. And also, if the white member wasn't her, right? It could have been some old dude that wasn't on their back, but she's the one who first said it. Oh, it's because our skin color is different, right? Also, John, shout out to anybody who this would have happened to, but those two members, I think Pearson and Jones, if I'm not mistaken, they. I don't mean to make the comparison, but they sure knew how to talk, and I'm not sure if they took a class or something, but they were really good orators and like borderline on. It felt like me watching a civil rights documentary from the '60s. They were incredible, and maybe as you know, right, we grew up in Illinois with Barack, and he was, if not probably the greatest at that. But if you just come across somebody who's not as good, right? I don't know if this blows up even as much as it would, right? They made incredible speeches on the floor, and then they went outside and were interviewed and made incredible speeches there. And all four of those things went viral. To talk about Republicans, boy, this is who they are, right? This is who they are. But more importantly, I think they're not going to really like where this is going. What I mean by that is I'm not sure we flipped Tennessee, right? But this just adds to the national conversation of how extreme Republicans are. And John, as you know, 2020 and 2022 and all the special elections along the way were referendums on how extreme Republicans were. I'm not sure that people were voting in 22 and 20 for Democrats as much as they were voting anti-Republicans. And this is going to add to that. This will be, John, this will be part of the 24 conversation. When people are running in 2024, this will be part of the conversation. Because you're going to add this with everything that's happening with Trump, with everything that's happening with McCarthy, and all of a sudden you're just going to link everybody together. Also, one last thing, and we learned this kind of in Illinois this week with the mayoral race, but people credit young people for the 2022 election and the 2020 election. Now, let me say this first. Democrats, established Democrats, are the leaders of this party. The old school black women, black men who are voting Democrats for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Those are the reasons. Those are the people who cause Democrats to win election. But young people are able to push us over the edge now, right? 2022, people saw the right of choice for women be taken away, and they showed up to the election. And then look what's happening in Tennessee. It was all young people on the floor, young people who aren't able to vote yet, on the floor protesting, screaming. And Republicans are questioning why they're losing elections with young people, and this is why. And Republicans are not going to learn from this. So I know I talked a lot, but my whole thing from that was they've alienated basically anybody under 24 from voting against them, and so I'm happy with that. I think it's a good sign. It's a good sign of the health of this country.
Yeah, one of the things, and I'm gonna pull back, from like the political implications. Well, the political implications are going to be obvious, when we talk about this. But did you get the opportunity to watch any of the proceedings um, live? I did. Did you get to see them?
Not live, no.
So it was a funny day. So what they did was, I remember turning on CNN that morning and CNN saying, "Oh, they're gonna in an hour they're gonna vote." Well, again, to remove whether or not they're going to remove the legislators. And so, sure enough, they got gavelled in. But and the crowd, when the three of them, when the Tennessee three walked into the chambers as they were going, there was like a large crowd in the rotunda or whatever the gathering space is outside the hall, and they were loud, they were boisterous, they were chants, they were doing all this stuff, and and they come in, they walked in together, and so I went on YouTube and I found the live stream, and I'm watching the live stream, and I noticed they're not voting on him. And that's when uh I think it's Justin Jones stood up and said, "Oh, you're trying to tire the people out. See, what happened was the Republicans' initial plan was to not vote on the expulsion immediately because they wanted to have it be as late in the day as possible in hopes that the crowd would dissipate and get tired and leave, and they would be able to, whatever. And that did not happen. So fast forward, the opposite happened. So then now it finally, they get to the point, and now it's like 3 in the afternoon or 2 in the afternoon, and I'd been watching since 9 o'clock. I did not have a productive day. Um and so they are just, it was a kangaroo court. There were no I mean, if this was a legitimate court of law, everything that the Republicans did that day would be thrown out, reversed on appeal, and everything, because they broke so many rules, or so many inconsistencies, etc. We could go and do an entire episode on that craziness. But the funniest thing was, it was Justin Jones who went first. He got to defend himself, and then there was like where members got to stand up and question him or make statements, and he was able to respond to each one. And you know that he was airing out the entire room. He was telling people about themselves. It's like, the time you did this and this member did that. And like at one point there was one, and I'm not sure if he was Indian or Middle Eastern, Republican member, the only non-white member of the House Republicans, who was upset that and tried to make Justin Jones look racist, and said, "You called me a brown face." He goes, "Yeah, I called you a brown face of white supremacy. Sit down." I mean, he literally was just firing on everybody. At one point, somebody said something, and he goes, "Well, basically, you just called me an uppity Negro." And I said to myself, and this was just the first one. I didn't get, because then I had to go to an event, so I didn't get to really watch the second or third one. But I was laughing because I'm like, do the Tennessee Republicans realize that a lot of people are watching and seeing this? And to your, now getting to your point about the political considerations, I don't think they realized what they were doing from the standpoint of the imagery that was being put out there. And this stuff's going to live in infamy. And these guys are, I mean, it literally, and it was Tennessee as the South, but to put it best is, um, you would not believe it. It looked to me like those, what we would assume the trials were that led to the lynching of black men in the South in the 50s, right? It was, I mean, it was just, and it was horrible. But as I said, one of the things that was fascinating was the way that they just turned these guys into heroes. They turned them into heroes. They're legends. And we're not bearing the lead. They did it all for nothing. Because at least Justin Jones looks like he's going to return. Now, I understand that Memphis is possibly not going to be as strong as, a guarantee of returning Justin Pearson, but it seems like Justin Jones is definitely coming back.